So another week and 3 more male hostages have been released by Hamas in exchange for more than 100 Palestinian prisoners. They certainly took their time releasing the names of these hostages, once again breaking part of the overall ceasefire agreement. And Donald Trump has some big ideas for Gaza, by the way, once they're all out. For more discussion, let's bring in distinguished professor at Touro University, Middle East analyst and Newsmax contributor Thane Rosenbaum, along with retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel and co-founder of Restore Liberty, Darren Gobb. So the plan is being called Mara Gaza. I love that. And here's President Trump.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area.
So he's got some big dreams rebuilding Gaza, or at least he threw out the idea to counter some of the same old solutions that really have never worked. So let's talk about this for a second. Let me ask you, Colonel, is there a role for the U.S. military in Gaza, or should we stay the heck out of there? Because that was the first reaction, like, we don't want our troops there. That's what people were saying.
No, we don't need our military there, and our military is already spread thin and has higher priorities. And one of those priorities is to make sure we rebuild from internally after 4 years of DEI politics, wokeness, and non-merit-based promotions that have eroded the leadership of the military in general. Our military is extremely capable, make no mistake about that. But we have plenty of things that we need to fix right now. I believe that the Gaza Strip piece, if all the questions that I have in my mind get answered, and this can become a reality, I think that kind of work can be done by other people.
So Thane, what's your reaction to the president's idea? You see that video of all the rubble, and then all of a sudden it could be replaced by, you know, beautiful condos. I don't know.
Yeah, Rob, let me get this straight. So Gaza doesn't have to be a breeding ground for terrorism. They could take advantage of their beautiful beaches and great weather, and instead of building tunnels ready for an area that could be the Riviera, they spent 500 miles of tunnels to kidnap Israelis. So here's a really novel approach, something that could have been done in 2005 when Israel withdrew from Gaza. There's no occupation of Gaza. There's not one Jew that lives there. There's an addiction to terrorism and a desire to kill and remove the Jews out of Israel. And so now Donald Trump came up with an original idea. Let's turn it into something that would be beautiful, and let's move the Gazans out of there while it's being rebuilt. And this is not ethnic cleansing. 2 million Syrians are in Europe, 1 million are in Germany. They're not ethnically cleansed. They were moved away from a war-torn area. So, you know, and the last thing I would say is, you know, no one really has good title to Gaza. You know, it's not really owned by anyone. I know this is a shock to anyone on a university campus, but I'm your go-to law professor. No one other than Israel has good title. And so therefore, there's nothing to stop the United States from going in and renovating it.
Well, Netanyahu certainly looked a little surprised by that. It would be real. I mean, it's definitely an interesting idea. And, you know, it's honestly, I think he throws these things out to get the discussion going because it always has been, well, two-state solution, blah, blah, blah. And that's what you get. You get rubble and you get the snakes. So, I mean, Gaza hasn't known peace for maybe forever. This ceasefire and the potential rebuild, Colonel, what's next? I mean, as I said, there are a lot of dangerous snakes. They're never going to go away over there.
Yeah, that's a pretty key question, is what's next, and it depends on where you're looking, too. So in Gaza, first of all, it says, can this plan be made a reality? Will people fund it, not just us? Will the international community come together and provide solutions rather than resolutions against the Israelis, which is not productive? Will they admit that for 30-plus years or more, the two-state solution is a failure and do something different, regardless of whether exactly as it's described by Donald Trump or some version of that becomes a reality, it's all better than what you have right now, which is the breeding ground for terrorism and using the Gazans as a hammer against Israel. So I get the why. I want to know at this point, just because I'm a strategist and a planner, I want to know the how, the who funds. When does this start? And Professor's right. Palestine's a region. It's not a country. There's no flag. There's no passport. Nobody owns this, really. Hamas has largely been eradicated and has disappeared for the most part. They're clearly still there in some small measure, which is part of the problem. But now you take all these people that have been allowed to move back in and say, well, what do you do with them? Well, there's no such thing as a Palestinian. There's just people who live in Gaza. And they are Jordanians, they're Egyptians, and there are other countries throughout the Middle East. And all of these countries together could actually provide an era of peace and prosperity for these people if they really cared to do what's right by them rather than use them against Israel.
I was just thinking, there's this little piece of a rock at the bottom of Spain, Gibraltar, which is, it's owned by Great Britain. I'm wondering if one day we're there. I don't know, maybe there's a U.S. flag there. I mean, obviously we would have a key area in the Middle East. But, Jordan's King Abdullah, he's coming to the White House. Jordan and Egypt and other Arab states, they've refused to take in the displaced Palestinians. So, Thane, do you see Trump making a deal with the Jordanian king or somebody else there, like Egypt, to resettle these Palestinians or Gazans?
Rob, the king of Jordan is scared out of his mind right now. 60% of his people are Palestinians. And I love what the colonel said. The people that are living in Gaza now, many of them are really Jordanians. They're going to just go home, back to Jordan. The king of Jordan is scared. He's going to increase the size of the people that hate him. On the other hand, Donald Trump has been a very shrewd negotiator these past 2 weeks. And Egypt, for instance, gets billions of dollars of our aid. I think he's just going to say to these countries, I know you're scared of the Palestinians. I would too, because most of them really love terrorism, and they're scary people to invite into your country. But if you want to continue to do business with the United States, you're going to have to take them in.
Thane Rosenbaum, Colonel, I love you. Take care, guys.
Love you, Rob.
You too, Rob. Thanks.
Okay.